So now that we have Sublime installed, let's run through some of the basics. You can open up Sublime by hitting your Windows key and typing in the name of a program. So hit Windows and then start typing in Sublime, and it'll automatically pop up and you hit enter. So Sublime is a text editor that opens up programming files. So we're going to go ahead and open a file. In this case, I'm going to go to Documents, Code, and I have some Ruby files in here. You can note that it's a Ruby file with a .rb extension. And I recognize the type of file, and when I open it up, Sublime recognizes that it's a Ruby file and does the syntax highlighting automatically. Syntax highlighting means it can recognize what's a keyword, what's a string. So here, if I accidentally forgot to end my string with a double quote, Sublime shows you that your string actually ends all the way down over here, which you can sort of see as a mistake, and all the extra yellow is like, oh, it probably means that I forgot to close that string. So it helps you catch these types of mistakes. It also helps you write code. So if I'm down over here and I wanted to write a statement like puts, as I'm typing, it starts to sort of give me this little box that shows me different options. So if I wanted to type a parameter, I can just hit up or down and then hit enter or tab, and then it'll autocomplete for me. And it's something that you can just ignore. You can just keep on typing and everything else will just work as normal. It runs incredibly fast, but it also helps you when you're typing in the name of a variable to help you make sure that you don't have any typos. Like if I typed in RESLT and forgot the U, Sublime actually does a fuzzy find and figures out the name that you were trying to go for. So pay attention to that. It'll help you catch mistakes. It's a very convenient feature of a programming text editor. Okay, so one thing you might want to do, or one thing you might want to notice, is that there's a you can close the tab normally by going up here to this X, but when you've made any changes, it changes the X icon into a circle, indicating that there's some unsaved changes. If you save your changes by going to File and Save, or is the keyboard shortcut Control S, once you save your changes, it changes the icon back. And this helps you figure out if you've had any changes made in your file. One thing you might want to do is change some of your preferences. So if you go to the Preferences menu and go to Settings User, this will pop open a new tab. So your preferences are essentially stored in this file. And you don't necessarily need all of my settings, but some settings to pay attention to. You want to enter tab size of 2 and translate tabs to spaces as true. These are generally settings that a Ruby programmer uses, and they're generally settings that would work well in any programming language. However, if there's a certain set of standards that your particular programming language uses, you can modify those individual values. The other key feature that I wanted to bring up here is I have save on focus lost is true, which means if I'm in a particular tab and I make a change, let's say I wanted to say puts results, you can see that I have some unsaved changes, but the moment I lose focus, meaning I switch over to a different tab or a different window, Sublime automatically saves those changes, and you can see that by that icon turning into an X. Now that's a weird feature for some people to get used to, but it's very helpful as a programmer, because the last thing you want is to attempt to run a program and you have a bunch of different files and folders open, and your program doesn't run and you figure out it was because one of your files you forgot to save the changes. If you're used to using Microsoft Word, it might be a little bit weird to get used to that feature. If you're used to using something like Google Docs, which automatically saves your work as you type, that feature is going to be very intuitive for you. Okay, last thing I want to show you in this particular lesson is the fact that very often you're going to be working with, instead of an individual file, as I mentioned, you might be working with a project that has a bunch of files and folders. Sublime gives you the option to go to open the entire folder instead of just the file. So if I click Open Folder, I go back to Weekend Work, and instead of selecting any particular file or folder, I just hit Select Folder, and it opens up that entire folder structure. What this means is I don't have to keep on opening up individual files. I can just look over here and say, let's see what this file is, or this file, or this file. If I started editing a particular file, like puts sentence, and I can open up a second file, so now I have all my files very quickly accessible through multiple tabs. So that's pretty much it when it comes to using Sublime. Everything that you really need is out the box. You can just start opening up programming language specific files and start editing them, and you'll get the autocomplete and the syntax highlighting for free. There are some more advanced features and keyboard shortcuts that you really want to get used to with Sublime. and we'll cover that in a following screencast.